Hi, I'm Liam.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Zach.
And the three of us have formed a production team called LMZ. We each assigned ourselves roles to facilitate the execution of a production team.
I performed the role of mix engineer. I also oversaw the production of the studio projects, as well as contributing as a session musician.
My role was to oversee the overall organisation and production of each project.
I assisted with the general production of the recordings as an engineer and also as a videographer.
The first task we did was the live recording of the Kingstons. I was contacted by their drummer Malcolm, who happened to find our advert that we created advertising our production services for free. He phoned me, asked if I was interested in recording a live set of them performing at the Tavistock Wharf. We made arrangements to visit the Tavistock Wharf and meet the stage manager and the live sound engineer in advance to make arrangements for the recording of the live show. The Kingstons requested video footage of their live performances for promotional purposes. I contacted a local videographer to record and edit footage professionally. Unfortunately, the stage manager of the Wharf was not really willing to make any negotiations for having a recording set up during the live performance of the Kingstons. We tried our best to maybe suggest some technical arrangements as to maybe splitting their signal from their desk, or perhaps using the USB interface from their Behringer X32 to record straight onto our digital audio workstation, but no matter what we suggested, they just didn't want to hear it. We did, however, manage to convince the stage manager to allow us to place ambient microphones at the rear of the venue.
Unfortunately, the quality of the recordings were insufficient for the purpose of a promotional video.
The only successful outcome from this event was the video footage recorded professionally. So I had to arrange with Malcolm to perhaps arrange another day to record them performing the exact same set but in a different venue. Malcolm told me that there was another performance from the Kingstons happening in the Tavistock Town Hall, where a live sound company called SkyMind would provide the audio. Malcolm put me into contact with SkyMind to arrange negotiations for recording a multi-track signal.
Unfortunately, SkyMind left us in the lurch and basically made us do all of the work for them as well as our own work. However, the multi-track recording was a success through the use of signal splitters from the live sound desk. We managed to get our own individual signals rather than using the mix from the live sound engineers. We also managed to capture video footage of the event using two digital SLR cameras placed in two different spots in the venue.
Our responsibility as the mix engineer was to mix the audio taken from the live performance at the Tavistock Town Hall. Mix the audio for the Kingstons at my home studio. Although most of the mixing and editing for the Kingstons was done in my home studio, the final mix and mastering was performed here in HD4.
We presented the resulting promotional video to the Kingstons in order to obtain their honest feedback. To our disappointment, they revealed their decision to not use the promotional video with the excuse of an impending lineup change. LMZ then made the decision to work with more artists to achieve a larger showcase for our production portfolio. We reposted the original advert through various forms of social media. We gained interest from a lot of bands, but the band that piqued our interest the most was a folk rock band from Cornwall called Bache.
Bates requested that we record a Christmas single that they would release for charity. We booked a session to experiment with alternate mic techniques. Bates insisted that they record all of their instruments in the same room at the same time. This was to achieve a more live feeling.
We then decided on a more simplistic recording setup, with traditional microphone placements to suit their aesthetic. Bates were tight and consistent and were able to accomplish their recordings with minimal takes. We then used the rest of the studio time to record backing tracks for 2 demos.
We booked an extra session so that we could complete their demos, and also so that we could re-record some of their vocals and guitar tracks for their Christmas single.
All that was left to record was the accompanying choir arranged by Bates to sing over the Christmas single.
For the choir recording, we had to provide our own recording equipment due to this being off-site from DBS.
This photo shows the recording setup for the choir for the Beige project. We decided upon a modified Decatree configuration. Instead of using the single centre microphone, we decided on a pair of M5s set in the ORTF configuration, while the rear microphones are a set of Rode NT1As, which really capture the size of the choir and the size of the hall.
This completed the recordings for the Beige project.
After the second recording session, we were left with multiple overdubs for each of the tracks. I undertook several rough mixes of the tracks and sent them to the band. I then used their feedback to finish the arrangements. There were several issues with timing, most notably with the choir. These timing issues all could have been avoided with the use of a metronome. These timing issues, however, were not dramatic enough to warrant a re-recording of all the tracks. The final mixes were again performed in my home studio and here in HD4, ready to be sent for mastering.
The last recording project was with singer-songwriter Ellie. Ellie was keen to get into a recording studio, however she had never experienced being in a recording studio before.
Due to Ellie's age and safeguarding laws, we required a guardian to be present during recording sessions.
We invited Ellie down to DBS Music to record some of her songs that she'd written herself. Once we recorded these songs, we then took them home, analysed the songs, and then made our own demos out of them.
This photo shows the drum recording setup for the demos of the Ellie project. We used a simple setup just to capture the drums for the arrangement rather than a final recording.
We sent these demos to Ellie for her feedback, and she was really pleased with our arrangement. Now that we had an idea of what we were recording, we then started recording the master backing tracks. First we recorded the drums.
The drums, bass and guitar tracks were all recorded using Liam's home studio.
This photo shows the recording of guitars for the Ellie project. 2 microphones were set up. The Shure SM57 was placed close to the grill cloth of the amplifier, while the custom built U87 was used again, but placed further back. The 2 microphones were not used at the same time, they were just used as a comparison to choose which one sounded better. I believe in the end we went with the custom built U87 as it added more room sound to the guitar recording. This picture shows a clear overview of the drum recording setup from the drummer's perspective. You can clearly see the Glyn Johns overheads, approximately 40 inches from the snare, both mics, and 40 inches apart from each other.
Once we finished recording all of the backing tracks, we then invited Ellie to DBS Music again to record her vocals. The vocal recording took place over 2 sessions. We then hired a church hall to record a real upright piano. Therefore, a successful 4-track EP was then recorded for Ellie for her portfolio.
The mixing for the Ellie tracks were once again performed at my home studio and here in HD4, utilising the analogue hardware.
This portfolio highlights the experience gained through the use of recording in a live setup as well as a studio setup.
The end.
Still recording.
Turn